Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. So I had a night to sleep on it, and as much as I really want to use this cylinder because it's only got a couple nicks in it and I just want to make it to the next day, blah 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 blah, I'm not going to throw the cylinder out. I will use it for as much as I can get out of it, but right now on my main daily, I need something that is going to be basic and reliable. I missed work today and I'm very, very upset about it. The bike wasn't working, so I was going to use Uber. Uber canceled on me twice, couldn't get another one to go. I ended up being about 40 minutes late and they had to send the job out. So after spending $20 to get to work, I got the text saying the guys are left when I'm about an exit away from being there. My own fault, well, Uber's fault, really, but my own fault for not having my own transportation to get there. It really sucks because that was $20 just to get to work, and then on top of it I had to spend another $20 to get home. So $40 to literally go nowhere, a round trip to not make any money. So it is what it is. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and move on. But I can't take the chance of putting this thing together and halfway on the way to work the lining decides to come out of it and, you know, messes up, and then I'm literally stuck on the side of the road with my bike not working and also not being able to get to work the rest of the way. That would be a major problem. I have a bunch of stuff sitting for me at the mailbox that I need to go pick up. But the main thing that I need at the mailbox is my tires. They're not there. I gotta check when they're gonna be there. They should be there sometime this week. I'm assuming tomorrow or the next day. I'm going to take the new top end, I'm going to do everything I need to do to it. I'm going to strip this down. This case is good, but this case kind of goes with this head. Not to mention, I just don't really want to use this case, but I do want to use the crank that's in here. The crank that's in here is a 10 millimeter wrist pin crank. All the other ones I have are 13 millimeters or 12 millimeters, except for the one that I gave to, I think, Josh. He got one, my 10 millimeter. So it is what it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my other case right here, I'm going to strip it completely down, get it ready to go. That's the first thing I'm going to do, and then I'm going to strip this one down, get the crank out of it, put this crank over here, and then this will be ready to go for something else, maybe one of my chainsaw top ends if I ever get to doing it. So I have to take all the parts that are good for this motor, that motor that's on the ground, I got to put them in a pile. They're all going to go together again, but not right this second. That's what we got to do, guys. That's exactly what we're going to do. Because this all needs to happen today and on the bike today. And I'm not going to lie, it's going to be nice having a YD100 back on my bike. I haven't had a YD100 on my bike in about a year. Okay, one motor stripped down, just so you can see why this is what I'm doing this for. YD100. Next step is going to be sanding everything down, getting it ready to be ported and measured and all that. So before I do anything on this one, because I'm in a rush and I don't want to be taping and untaping and taping and untaping, I'm going to sand everything down 80, 150, 220, and I'm going to throw it on the degree wheel, see where everything starts off at, and then I'm going to take it from there and bring it to what I want. So we are kind of going a little bit backwards because normally I wouldn't get this involved with surfacing, but because I need to make sure I have all the grit off of the case since it's well used and had Moto Seal, I want to make sure I get the right amount of tolerance. If I have any run out left to right in the crank, I want to make sure it doesn't move, and if it does, then I need the shims and whatnot. So I want to see if I can do Moto Seal, preferably with no gasket, or if I got to run a gasket and what have you. So we'll see there. So that's why I'm going to start with the case and sanding everything, and since I'm going to have that going, I'm just going to sand everything to make sure we're good to go. Okay guys, so I wasn't going to break apart my crank because I just didn't want to. I didn't want to do that. I'm getting ready to do dry fit and find out what the timing marks are or port timings are and all of that. So to do that, I got to have everything clean and basically operating in a good manner, so nothing is getting held up and acting stupid. So I ended up breaking the crank apart because when I was doing it, I was spinning the crank around like this, and I went like this and let go, and it got hung up here, and I went back, loose, and then forward, caught. So I pushed it through. It was just like a little bind. So I threw a bunch of WD-40 in there, a bunch of WD-40, and it kept coming out black, black, black. Like WD-40 was coming out of the oiling holes, black, black, black. I was like, what in the world is going on? So originally I had told you that transfer walls broke off, and that's what chewed everything up. Well, that's partly correct, but now I know more, now that I broke this apart. So I broke it apart because I was like looking down in there, and I'm following the cage. Now, you know the cage of the bearing, okay? This is a crank bearing, okay? It goes inside the crank. It goes inside of there. So I'm looking through the oiling holes. You see how the cage goes all the way around one side, okay? So I'm looking, I see it, and I'm on this side. So I'm looking, and then all of a sudden I see a gap. Roller bearings, these are just sitting in there, but there's no cage on this side holding it. I'm like, what in the world? As soon as I saw that, immediately knew I have to take it apart because the bearing's busted. So it turns out what happened, and you can see how it's welded together. So it did it while it was running, obviously. See this piece? This is a piece of the cage that's like welded to the rest of the cage now. So that's what had broken. The needle cage broke on the crank bearing, and that is what ended up getting shot up into the top of the motor, breaking the transfer wall and scratching it all up. I'm really glad I found that out. I am going to take my other crank that I have in there. I'm going to pop it apart. I'm going to get the needle cage out, and I'm going to put it in here because I want the 10mm wrist pin and the one that says YD100. That really doesn't matter. I just want the 10mm wrist pin. So this is where I'm at. I got it decked. I got the surfaces all cleaned up. Everything's clean. All I need to do is put this together, and then I already got the bearings. I put the bearings in already. So all I have to do is put this together, like dry fit it basically, put the top on, 2 studs, and start getting the measurements and find out where we are with our squish and what have you. Okay, well, I want to show you something. So, okay, I got the crank in, so everything is decked, everything's ready to go in that sense. The only thing left to do is check for squish, check for everything. I have no base gaskets in, and as you can hear, I can completely rotate the motor without any interference. So that's cool, but not really at the same time. Don't have a way to spin the motor over with a piece of solder in there. When I put the solder in, it does stop it. I can't squish it to see what the actual squish would be because I don't have a nut and everything on there. I'm not really to that point. I was just curious to see because of where it goes. Now, I have no base gaskets in, which I would rather run with no base gaskets. The problem I'm having with that is we would have crosstalk. That's top dead. Can you see that? See it come up? It's top dead. That's no port work. It's no nothing. That's a problem. Okay, let me figure out what I'm going to do here and how I'm going to do it. So I put 2 gaskets on because I don't want to have any issues with the free port, with the crosstalk. So this is what I did. This is where the squish is. I was able to achieve that. Now that is only, I didn't measure it. It's way bigger than it should be, 2mm probably. I used big solder to begin with for my squish because that's just what I had according to my super high tech, it's at the 2mm line, maybe a hair above it. So yeah. Now that's with 2 base gaskets, and I think it is crucial that I run both base gaskets because I don't want to have a problem with the free porting like I mentioned. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to run with both base gaskets, and I'm going to check everything else from here. The squish is what it is. I'm not going for big power with this. I just want a reliable motor to run with right now. So, numbers I got. A little surprising, and I don't want to say concerning, but interesting. The intake opened at 55, closed at 55, 110 degrees of duration. The exhaust opened at 100, closed at 260, 160 degrees of duration. Transfer opened at 125, closed at 235, 110 degrees of duration. Blowdown of 25. Now the blowdown is already plenty high enough for where I like a blowdown. So I really don't want to raise my exhaust at all. Being as the exhaust is already at 160, that's more than high enough, in my opinion, for a decent little chug-along motor. The only thing I don't like is the intake is 110 and the transfers are 110. So the transfers I'm going to leave. So the intake, I would like to have at least 2 more degrees, preferably 6 more, 8 more degrees, 10 more degrees of duration on the intake than I do the transfers. Now the intake, it does need to be skirted. So that would put me at about 120, 122 degrees of duration by just skirting the piston. I'm fine with that. So we're going to try to stick with these stock numbers. Outside of the intake is going to go up to about 120 to 124. Everything else should stay about the same. Now we'll throw it back on the wheel and we'll double check everything when I get done, but we're going to crack along with porting it. That is the next step. All right, it is 9:18. So from where I wanted to be right now, I'm basically an hour behind. I wanted to be basically assembled at this time in the day, What it is I am about to start assembling. I had a few more things take a little longer than expected, is what it is. I put the case bearings in. I didn't put the seals in yet. Everything on this motor right now seems pretty flawless. The jug that I got from Build Break Fix, I think when you just look at it, it's a really good looking cylinder, but once you start getting into it, it has a lot of flaws. But nothing that can't be fixed and nothing that's gonna hurt the overall performance of it on the long haul. I have not put it back together to check final durations, but I'll be honest with you, whatever it is, it is. It's going together as it is. I'll show you everything really quick. Transfers, can you see them? All I did was take the lip out, otherwise really good. The only thing I had to do was right there. You see how it's just beveled? I didn't even go that far in. I just didn't want to get too involved. I wanted it to be really, really simple. This isn't going to be a killer monster motor. This is just going to be a decent little runner, and that's all I wanted. So all I did was bevel it so it doesn't hit a wall. Intake, I widened the intake more because I skirted the piston. Not much, just a wee bit. But because I skirted it, I got my extra duration from there, so I wanted to make sure I had more air coming in, so I widened it. Plus, I had the extra duration, so between the two, I should have more than enough air coming in for the actual transfer. It's going to have more air in than it has air out. I did my normal oil holes. I drilled them bigger and then all the way through to the bottom. I did my recessed because I'm going to cut the G's off and make them C's. You do not want to use G clips C. You just want to cut them off and have them be C's, and those work the best and never fail you. Only thing that I'm not doing that I am worried about, I'm not going to lie, is the retainer pins. Brand new motor, retainer pins are in, but I'm a little worried that they might fail on me. But we're going to go with it as it is. I'm not going to play around with it anymore. I did my little cut off on this side just so it lightens it up and equals the weight. Intake, you can see all the way down. I always gut this out. On the intake here, I did bring the outside down more so that it's level with the intake manifold so that it doesn't hit a wall. So that should match up pretty good. To be honest with you, I completely forgot to polish it. Whatever, I'll have to do that in a second, but you see it there. I didn't do anything on the bottom, obviously. I barely touched the top. What I did do is I widened it a little bit. So very minuscule. The most of the work was honestly done in the transfers and the intake. Everything's good. I've got the crank back together. Got a new bearing in there. New used bearing. Everything seems to be okay with that. It's time to start assembling. It took me a long time to get to this point, a lot longer than I wanted it to be, but we're here and we're gonna go. We're going for it. Okay guys, this is the first time I've ever come across these. These are spacers, basically. They are what I was trying to make in Bear's motor, the motor that's sitting over there right now. They're just spacers that keep the bearing centered on the wrist pin so the bearing can't come off to the left or the right. Okay, just showing you where I'm at. I got the gear on the side on, got really good feeling compression. Put my finger over the plug and it gets a lot harder. So we got great compression going on right now. Next step for me is we are going to put the, whatever you call this thing, the magnet on. I gotta take it apart. I gotta put them in. Go! By not putting these in, it is a good way to not have one of these fail. So, pause, pump the brakes, back it up. So these are the stock G-clips that come with a YD100. You are all familiar with them. And this is what I'm going to use to attach my brand new piston. And yes, I have had 4 of them fail in the past because I learned how to use the stuff you get in the kit because I don't buy anything unless it's a kit. See the G? You just cut it off and then you put this in. And that's why I put those recesses in there, so I can dig it out later on. I always put the recesses on the exhaust side because this way it kind of helps balance everything off. I always hit it the opposite side to make sure it seats. We're in like Flynn. Okay, back to where we were. Oh, I'm glad I caught that because that would have been really bad. Okay, so I did all the new numbers. The intake, it opens at 68 before top dead. It closes at 68 after top dead. 136 degrees of duration. So we went from 110 to 136. Really happy with that, actually. The exhaust opens at 96, closes at 264. We now have 168 degrees of duration. Transfers, they open at 124, they close at 236. That's 112 degrees of duration. We started with 110 degrees of duration. The blowdown is now 28. I'm okay with that. We did really well. It's 11:55. We are now almost 3 hours past our deadline to be about where we are right now. We're far behind, but it is what it is. At least we're gonna have one solid little motor, and we remembered to put the circ clips in, so that's a bonus. We got her done. Only things it needs is the coil. Everything else is done. Exhaust is even on. So basically what we got going on today is I got to pull this motor off. I don't know what happened. I was working on it the other day. I put a new tube in the rear and I flip-flopped the rear tire to the front tire to the rear tire, because the rear tire was so bald. I kept getting flats like literally every time I rode it. So I put it in the front because it's way less weight back there, and I put the better tire in the back. So after I did that and I adjusted the brake, I put new brake pads on the rear. I just took it for a test drive around the block to see how it is, and I was letting it warm up, and just pulling up the hill about half throttle, all of a sudden I heard, and it stayed running, but it was down on power, like something real bad. As soon as I got below, I don't know, a couple thousand RPM, motor just cut off on me. And watch, now I'm not holding the clutch in. Clutch is, see? Clutch is out. Look, it's spinning it. Now it is sliding a little bit. That's why I'm saying it has a little bit of compression, but all that's back here, there's no weight back here, just my gas tank, my regular thing. It should skid the tire fully. It shouldn't turn it like this. So now it's not complete loss of compression, but it's definitely way down on compression. Side note, the cassette I put on, it's already breaking. I think the gear inside broke or something. It like doesn't always catch. We gotta work on that, not today though, but we gotta get all this off so we can get this on. The only thing I have to do, the coil. I gotta take the coil off of here and put it in there. Okay, she's ready to come off. Let's take her. I don't know if you could see in there, but the piston's got big chunks out of the top of it. Pretty excited, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. I am pretty excited about this. Okay, guys, everything is on, I believe. Okay, no choke. Start it right up. That's a good sign. Sounds decent. It's idling really low. Probably too fat. Need to lean it out. Feels really nice. It's nice having it this quiet, I'll tell you that. I have not had a YD100 on my bike in a long time. Thank you, Bill Brake Fix. It does feel like it's got good power. Is that a better sounding exhaust for you? A little quieter?
You really have to do that?
Yes, I really do.
Why?
But right now I'm tuning it, but that's a lot quieter than the other one.
Can you do it down the street?
No. Can't you be less old and miserable somewhere else?
Why am I paying rent?
Right, not on me either. That's what
You're not paying rent to live up your rent.
I'm paying rent to do whatever I want to do here. And part of my rent is to drive you crazy. It's in the lease. Yeah, I'll bring the lease down so you can read it. It says, make sure you drive Wayne absolutely insane with your motor.
Bring extra paper so when I light them on fire.
Let me check. I think it's on the fattest setting, if I remember. We'll lean it out just a wee bit, clean up our mess, and we'll take it for a spin. Okay guys, so we're heading on out. Hopefully that's in a good spot. You can hear me. I don't know, we'll see. Either way, we're heading out. I took it for the test drive. You saw that. I lowered the needle. In other words, I raised the clip up to the middle. It was in the fattest setting. I haven't tested it since I did that. 2 notches shouldn't make such a deal that it doesn't run. Either way, we gotta take it for a spin to see how it is, because we need to know if it's good to go for tomorrow. So we're just gonna take it for a spin. I got my normal stuff that I would ride with.
have not set to idle yet. It's already better. I already felt a little bit more pull on it. It already had better pull right there. Now remember, this is a brand new motor, so it's got to get broken in still. Rings, pistons, cylinder, everything. Yeah, it's already a lot better. It's peppier for sure. It really liked having that needle lower. Definitely needed to be leaned out a little bit. It's only 1/3 throttle. Might be able to go up another notch, honestly, but it seems pretty decent right here, so we're gonna leave it right here for now. Everything seems to be working okay. The clutch is working. The new crank bearing seems to be working. The balance, well, I didn't balance it, but I kind of trued it since I had it apart. That seems to be pretty good. We're basically going to take a big loop, I think. That's what I'm thinking. Basically as if I was going to work. Getting home from work, I can worry about once I'm there. As long as I get there. Right now, that's the first hurdle. We're on flat ground here. I want to rev it a little bit, see how she sounds. Right now, we're at a really good cruising speed for the most part. So let's take it past that. She feels really, really balanced. Now remember, I did not balance the crank. I only trued it. Alright guys, I just switched out the battery. My camera died. I didn't realize it. So, something you don't know is I stopped, let it cool down. You know, a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. And I got back on her right now, but while it was cooled down, I raised the clip one more notch, so it went from the middle, second to the top now, and it likes it there for sure. I'm very happy with the way it is right now, so yippee-ki-yay, right? My favorite thing is how quiet it is. It's so quiet compared to the other pipe. Like for a daily, that's not. I like a banana pipe, honestly, for a daily. Like the old pipe I used to have on this thing, that scooter pipe. It just gives it a little bit of pop. And I don't want it to be loud, I just want that little bit of pop. And it gives it that, and I like that. But I don't like the crazy loud because that's just annoying to ride around every day that loud. That's just too much. I think we're going to leave the bike right how it is for now, just until we get it broken in. I got a gallon of fuel, almost a full gallon in there. Mind you, I run Lucas, so that's a little problematic for breaking in a new motor, but it is what it is. Might take 2 or 3 gallons, to be honest with you. Last time I tried to break in a new motor with the Lucas, it literally took like 2 gallons, ran through it, and it still wasn't broken in. I ran like 2 miles of conventional, and it broke right in. I literally felt the difference immediately. It's crazy how good that Lucas is. Well, there you have it, guys. I don't know what else to tell you, but make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Most important to me, make sure you leave me a comment and say what's up. Hey, look what you did wrong, you idiot. Any of those things will be fine with me. Also, go over to Johnny's Motorized Bicycles Facebook group. Check it out. There's a link in the description right below this video. So, as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.